Okay, Rod Henry, your prof here. Bemidji State, this is for International Marketing 3751. And I've had some questions about the first projects for the International Marketing. Let me show you what we've got here. First of all, if you go to the course home materials section, what you'll find is that we have a thing here called Country Notebook, in which I have supplied you with the outline of the Country Notebook project from the text. This is part of the text. I'm permitted to do this. Okay? Just to give you a quick idea, they run through the ideas, general idea of what it is we're trying to do. And again, the whole idea is we're going to come up with this, all of us together are going to put together this bunch of information. You will then look at the information in light of a particular product and then tell me what its prospects are in the country of Poland, again, because we're doing Poland this summer session. So we're going to start with a cultural analysis, okay? And again, the whole idea, quick line here, the information must be more than a collection of facts. Whoever is responsible for preparation of this material should attempt to interpret the meaning of the cultural information. Okay, so how does it help in understanding the effect on the market? Okay, and they give the example of Mexico and Italy being Catholic. However, the fact that they're Catholic doesn't mean that Catholicism is the same. Just as, say, for example, Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Saudi Arabia are both Muslim countries, but believe you me, there is a wide difference in the type of Islam practiced in Saudi Arabia as opposed to Bosnia. So, let's start with a couple of these here that I've asked people to do. Number one is the kind of brief discussion of the country's relevant history. Now, this text takes place in the context of post-World War II. So if you want to, you can give us a little blurb about what the country's been like before World War II, kind of a general description, and then take it after World War II, and again, broad brushstrokes. I don't want a book on this. I want relevant facts for someone doing business, okay? So for example, I assume somewhere in there we're going to have the fact that the country went from being a centrally controlled economy, i.e. Scientific, socialist, communist, whatever you want to call it, to a form of free market capitalism integrated into the European Union in one way or the other, etc. So that'd be a brief discussion of the country's relevant history. Next, geographical setting, location, okay, where this is basically where it is. Little pictures, maps help, by the way. And if you want to give a brief discussion of the country's relevant history, please feel free to give us timelines too. Now, with all this stuff, you're going to source it, and with all this stuff, you're going to use sources other than Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a fine place to start. I use it myself, especially when I'm doing research that isn't, how would I put it, totally critical. It's kind of a good starting off point for some types of research. But it's just that. It's a starting off point. It's not rigorously analyzed for veracity. There are all sorts of commercial posts that wind up in there. All sorts of other types of biases can find their way in there, much more so than, say, a juried work. But in any event, so next comes geographical setting, location, which can have an impact on some products, climate, topography. So for example, is Poland one huge flat plain? Is it all mountains like Switzerland with valleys and rivers? Is it all fjords like Norway? Tell us. This can actually have a big impact on what the on things like distribution, preferences, etc. Next up would come things like the family, okay, and in the text they give descriptions of nuclear and extended family. I would add, these are not hard and fast definitions. So if you're going to tell me what the nuclear family is, tell me where that definition comes from. Same thing with extended family. What counts as your immediate family? What counts as your extended family? All very important. Dynamics of the family. Parental roles, okay? Are mom and dad equal in running the household? Does mom run the household? Dad run the household? Does granddad run the household? Grandmother? Whatever. Marriage and courtship. These are things like percentage of marriages, etc. How does this take place? In many parts of the world, the norm is arranged marriages. Two sets of parents get together, two families get together, they say, okay, this child will marry this child. And that's simply how it's done. The idea of marriage for the sake of love, not necessarily a global belief. And again, this creates very different dynamics in terms, just think of, say, a whole dating culture. Well, in some places, there is none, okay? Then female and male roles. We know in the U.S. things have changed dramatically since the end of World War II, actually since the turn of the century, 1900s, etc. So are these roles changing? Are they static? And I will give you an example later on of how they can change in a variety of ways. Education, role of education in society. Primary education, quality levels of development, etc. And there are a number of studies out there on this. When you compare, say, Poland to Minnesota, you just might be surprised. Secondary education, quality levels of development, etc. Higher education, quality levels of development. And again, these things are given. There are a number of organizations out there monitoring these. So when in doubt, find one of these sources and use it. Literacy rates. I've been in countries that have 99% literacy. I've been in countries that have 9% literacy. Trust me, it makes a great deal of difference in terms of how you can advertise, promote products, how you can even package products. Can you have printing on the package and expect people to read that? With, say, a medicine, infant formula, things like this? Or do you have to simply use pictures and hope that people will understand these? Then political system. And political systems many times are interesting for a variety of reasons. Actually, we'll just leave it with political system. Political system, here what we have, the overall political structure. You can talk about form of government, etc. Is it a, kingdom? Is it a democracy? Is it a parliamentary system, republic, etc.? What political parties exist? You may be surprised to discover the width and breadth of political parties in other parts of the world. How stable is the government? Some countries go through a new government every 2 years, 3 years, etc. Others have had the same person running the show, basically, for the last 25, 30 years, etc. Are there special taxes that are out there? So, for example, first time I went to Yemen, I discovered all these homes and buildings that looked like they were unfinished, because you would see all these bare rebars, concrete reinforcement structures sticking out of the top. And I asked, what's with this? Well, why haven't they finished these? The reason? If a building is finished, there is a special Islamic tax that is put on it. So, in essence, very few buildings were finished in order to avoid this particular tax. And then role of local government. Is the local government it, or is the central government it? How powerful are the localities? Again, in some countries, the city-states, or however you want to put them, rule. In some countries, tribal organizations, tribal groups rule. You have a very weak central government. In other places, you have a very, very strong central government. So again, this is just a quick overview. Email or post FAQ questions in that FAQ part of the discussions if you want to know more.